It is time for the sectional championship edition of State Champs Indiana Extra Point, presented by Lawrence Technological University. Lawrence Tech wants you to recruit yourself. Just go to LTUathletics.com and click on the Recruit Yourself link. Academic and athletic scholarships are available in over 24 varsity sports, including football. My name is Greg Rakestraw, joined as always by Bob Stambazze. Hello, my friend. How are you?
Just peachy. Another big weekend of high school football, and if you were a Duck, you really enjoyed
it. The joy of being where I'm at. Everything is on turf. It didn't make it any more dry, but it certainly made the play conditions better than they could have been. Now, knowing the teams that you cover, did your high school football season end on Friday night, Mr. Stambazze?
It only after I jinxed everybody that we broadcast for. We're at halftime and Northfield is leading, and I said, well, it looks like we're going to have a couple teams go on. Northfield and Peru both were leading at the half. Then Peru got behind, went double overtime. Northfield lost the lead in the third quarter and never regained it, lost it. So to answer your question, it's round ball season.
Officially translates into girls basketball coming up this week for Baz. And this podcast will transition to basketball by the time we get to the month of December. But clearly the pigskin is going to be our focus, as we are now down to 96 teams remaining in the state of Indiana. 48 sectional have reached a championship game. And remarkably, 2 teams will begin their postseason this week. There were 2 teams in 6A because of only having 30 teams in 6A this year. And I got this question from a few folks this weekend. Let me explain. The IHSAA elected to not change the enrollment cycles this year because of the pandemic affecting numbers last year. And so you basically stayed in the same enrollment classification. However, for the sports that were able to fully complete the last 2 years, basically everything up until boys basketball, they did take into account the success factor or the tradition factor. So there were 2 teams, Fort Wayne Snyder and Columbus East, that both returned to 5A. So because of that, there were only 30 teams that were in 6A this year. So that meant there were 2 3-team sectionals. Carroll, Homestead, Warsaw, Sectional 3, Sectional 8, Center Grove, Columbus North, as well as Franklin Central. So that's why there are 2 teams that literally begin their postseason run on sectional championship Friday night coming up just a few days from now. Baz, let me tell you about the game that I had, and for a second time in the last 3 weeks, we had a rather significant upset take place in the games that we had on the ISC Sports Network. 6A number 8 Warren Central, who had not played for 3 weeks. They did not play in week number 9. Everybody had week 1 off in 6A, and most everybody in 5A had the same thing as well. Warren Central had beaten Lawrence Central 48-13 when they played in week number 4. However, you combine just simply Lawrence Central being a very young football team, playing a truckload of sophomores and juniors. Their starting quarterback was injured, did not play in week number 4. Warren Central's starting quarterback had a hand injury where he played defense and special teams, couldn't throw the football. And so he was not playing on Friday night from an offensive standpoint. Warren Central has a wide receiver named Joe Walker who literally took a visit to Ohio State this weekend to give you an idea as to how good he is. His foot's in a boot on Friday night. Could not play in that game. Then you bring in what you referenced in terms of great weather for a Duck. Literally in the Indy area, the spigot got turned on at about 6:30. And got turned off at about 10 o'clock or 10:30. Rain throughout the course of every game. And, we have multiple games on ISC. Our other featured game on Friday night was Speedway in Monrovia. It was an absolute mud bowl. It was the county tractor pull by the time that game was over with. LC on Warren playing on turf, but still it had an effect on that game. Literally, Lawrence Central had a 40-point reversal from the last time they played Warren Central. After losing 48-13, they win that football game 13-8. The number 8 team in the state gets sent home. And Baz, I'm going to have you put your coaching hat on for a second. If nothing else, knowing that you now have an extra week of practice and you have a program kind of building win, it's the 4th postseason win in the last 9 years for Lawrence Central since they won the 2012 state championship. Regardless of what happens for LC going forward, to have that victory and have that extra week of practice, what does that mean for Will Patterson going into this offseason?
If I'm a bet man, he would rather play this week to take that energy off of that big win, right? You want to get right back
He
at
will.
it. But you're going to come back out. You have all the breaks in here. You don't know throughout the season when you're going to play or not this year. Again, we fought that in the pandemic. But the situation here, I think smiling ear to ear, enjoy it up to Sunday for the players. Coaches, they're already back in their meeting rooms on Sunday going through game film, the game plan. They're refocused. It's tougher for the kids, but the coaches still have to get things ready and go.
It sets up LC and Lawrence North, and I
Yeah.
don't think that outside of Lawrence Township, people understand how important of a deal that is. You have to beat the other school, and there are similar situations like this in the Indianapolis area, Perry, Meridian, and Southport. The biggest one is Fishers and HSE. You go a little bit further north, Frankton and LaPel, that are actually part of the same school district.
Yeah.
You have to beat your neighbor, have to beat your rival. Put this in perspective. Lawrence Central has not won a football sectional since 2012. LN has not won one since 1990. And those two teams get to play coming up on Friday night, sectional number 7. The road probably stops there because Center Grove is likely the team that is awaiting them in the regional round. But it is massive for those two teams to be able to say they're playing each other in the sectional championship as well as potentially winning a sectional championship. Now, the game that I had was one of the larger upsets in the state. It may not have been the biggest upset in the state, even though these were a couple of ranked teams. Baz, tell me about South Adams' 6-3 victory over previously unbeaten Monroe Central.
This is huge. Played in the slop, as you want to say. It was going to be a slugfest. You knew that coming out. You're not going to be able to throw the football. And so they came out and just went at it, and it was going to be defense. And some of the reports that I was getting throughout the game said it was just horrendous field condition. And as a matter of fact, the coach from South Adams took a dive in the mud after the game with the kids. And I mean, how bad? I mean, the Hogs are having fun. But I tell you, the field conditions down there did not benefit at all Muncie. I'm thinking Muncie Central with Coach Hodgson, but
Sure.
Monroe Central because of their speed. That was negated because of all that mud down there. And I'm just going to tell you, it was mud from the 10 to 10. It was just that bad in the middle of the field and going out of the wings actually a little bit farther. But what it did do played into the hand of South Adams that likes to plug things along. And I think this is a huge, huge win.
And isn't that amazing, though, that a year ago it would have gone the other way in terms of who that benefited?
Exactly.
Last year, because the Arnold kid that now is at Marion University, as well as his top tight end target. You know, it was a South Adams team that last year, of course, made the state finals and wanted to air it out. And again, South Adams and Adams Central, as we point out, are not in the same sectional. They would not meet until the regional. Again, I think the Jets are the better team. They won rather handily during the course of the regular season. But, you know, we are seeing this more and more, that the second time around that you play a team, it's very difficult to get a second win during the course of the postseason.
Greg, what they did at Adams Central was take their game to Bluffton. They used the Greg Rakestraw theory. Let's go to the turf. So they took it over to Bluffton. Now, this week it comes back to Adams Central. Their field's in immaculate condition. That's where they'll play the game this week. I'm going to take that terrible word, assume they'll stay there at Monroeville at Adams Central. But I look forward to be played there. And this will be, by the way, a very inside, very slow game for Triton. But there's so much speed with Adams Central. That's why they're called the Jets. They'll take off at any time.
All right, now the big game in your neck of the woods. Let's talk about, and we have kind of pointed to this all season long. 11-0 East Side at 10-1 Bishop Luers. Again, Luers claimed a share of the Summit Athletic Conference Championship, which again is tremendous given the fact they're the smallest school in the Summit. They were beaten by Snyder in week number 9. As expected, not much problems the first 2 weeks. And even though they've got a loss on their hands, I think a lot of us outside of Fort Wayne just assume Luers is going to be the state champ, but they literally have a great team to play every step of the way. and let's talk about the Eastside Blazers, who have been really good the last few years and come in at 11-0.
Eastside with over 3,000 yards this year on offense, and this is a team from Butler, Indiana, that plays awfully well. And if you remember last year, Bishop Luers wins this game, going on their final drive to beat Eastside as they intercepted a pass. So this is going to be a very unique football game. I tell you, don't be surprised if the score isn't or doesn't come down to a field goal to the very end, to be quite honest with you. But I still think Luers gets it. But this is a nasty, very physical East Side team coming in with a chip on their shoulder. And Greg, they play some hard-nosed football just like Luers. But Luers still plays, and you brought this up a million times, still plays the big boys. You know, they did lose to Snyder, but they still play the big boys. They understand the true essence of speed. They do have that, and they got some awfully good interior people too.
Again, Eastside, again, plays a representative schedule for their enrollment, and their best win of the year is beating Adams Central. That is Adams Central's one loss. I realize Adams Central is a 1A team, but clearly one of the two best teams in 1A, with Lutheran thought to be the other one.
Yes.
That would be that group. And again, with now in 1A Monroe Central out, it's almost assumed Lutheran and Adams Central are going to play for the 1A state championship at Lucas Oil Stadium. Eastside won that game early in the season, 21-19. That's the best team they have played until now. And again, we'll bring up field conditions. The forecast appears to be pretty solid for this week. Temperatures in the game is going to be in the 40s or 30s. There's not much in the way of precipitation expected across the state during the course of this week. But I bring it up because Luers is the home team. Yes. And you talk about the physicality of Eastside. They don't mind if it's a muddy track. Luers does. So I'm very curious to see, because of Carson Clark's ability to throw the football and his record-setting career that he has had at Luers, do they try to go play elsewhere, play someplace on turf? Because, frankly, the better field conditions probably benefit Luers. Again, rain should not be a factor, but so many of these grass fields have been torn up because we've had a good amount of rain over the course of the last 3 or 4 Fridays. Again, that's part of the storyline for that game as well. One other result that I wanted to talk about from last week that caught a lot of people by surprise, and frankly me too, is in 4A, the way that East Central put it to Mooresville at their place. East Central 52-26 beat Mooresville. Mooresville was a team that was thought, hey, maybe they've got a chance to compete with Roncalli in 4A. East Central played Roncalli and played them well. Roncalli won that game 35-21 in the season finale. But credit to East Central, because and you have this at this round of the tournament. Some of these sectionals are more spread out than others. And again, weather conditions not a factor. That game was played on turf. The East Central folks, who are good every year, they have been raving about this team this season. Their 2 losses, Archbishop Moeller in Cincinnati and Roncalli in week number 9. That's a heck of a win for the East Central Trojans.
Oh, it's a big win. There's no doubt about it. Big thing is going in there and beating them. I mean, that's the big thing is handing them that huge loss, and then to turn around and saying, you know what? You look at our schedule, the teams we play, going back to, once again, your theory, the better programs you play, the better you're going to come tournament time. And that's just kind of panning out right here, Greg, on what you saw.
And I'll tell you this, again, Mooresville plays in a better league, but East Central, goes out and tries to find the best teams they can. And again, this is like a graduate level athletic director discussion as to what East Central can do, because there's simply no one of their size anywhere close to them. They try to go play as many in other sports, as many schools from across the state line as they can. In football, you can do that once or twice, but they always open up with Lawrenceburg, who has become the second best program clearly in that league. And Lawrenceburg is still playing in terms of the 3A state tournament. They play in a sectional championship game coming up on Friday night. East Central has tried to play either Roncalli or Chittard or someone of that ilk in their final game of the season for many years. And again, at least having that experience, I think, has helped propel them to the amount of postseason success they have had in recent time. Even if you are not broadcasting a game on Friday night, and I touched on East Side and Luers, anything else kind of in your neck of the woods that's on your radar coming up on sectional championship Friday?
Well, we do have a game on our other station we have on 1019 Rocks. We'll have the Peru Norwell game. Now, Peru's very surprising this year, Coach. They're going to play a Norwell team that's 10-1. Peru is 8-2. Very athletic team. But these are some good old farm boys coming out of Norwell, which is literally just across the Huntington County line. And these kids come and play. They're in the same conference as the Vikings. They're good up front, good size up front. Has some speed, can throw the football when they have to. Peru, they got a quarterback, Greg, last name Strong. Every sense of the word, he is a bulldog. And this is how Strong plays, is how Peru plays. So if Strong has a great game, they're going to be in it with Norwell. If Strong struggles, count Norwell to win big, big, big.
I'm a big fan of Romas in St. Louis, the head coach of Peru, so I'll root for him again. Norwell, that's a traditional power in terms of 3A, and the days of Chandler Harnish immediately come to mind.
Yes,
thinking about their trips to the RCA Dome in years gone by. The game that I've got for you this week is a great one: Carmel and Brownsburg, and there has been so much debate in this area about has the Hoosier Crossroads Conference caught the MIC in terms of football. In 6A, we've had a MIC champion in each of the first 8 years. Mm-hmm. Basically, in every year but two, 2010 and 2012, in the last 20 years, a MIC school has won a state championship. And I'll explain the asterisk. In 2012, LC won the state championship. They had yet to make the move to the MIC. They would do that the following year. So they technically count as a non-MIC champ in 2012. And I still think the state champ's going to be a mixed school in terms of Center Grove. But really, from 2 on down, you can kind of make the argument that the HCC has had a better year than the MIC. Carmel was the second best team in the MIC, but Avon, who went 1-8, they were in that football game with them on Friday night. Carmel won that one by a score of 35-21. This is a Brownsburg team that has been really good for many years, but they have struggled to get over the hump in terms of postseason play. If Brownsburg can get past this one, they will likely play Ben Davis in the regional. Brownsburg beat Ben Davis in the season opener 33-22. So there is a chance for the Bulldogs to make by far their longest tournament run in decades, like going back to like the mid-'80s when they put state championship banners up at Brownsburg. John Hart has turned them into a consistent winner. Of course, he's got state title experience at both Wright and Warren Central, one of the winningest coaches in the history of the state when you include his results in other states, because he has spent a good amount of time in Illinois during his coaching days. Carmel is good enough where Brownsburg can only has to worry about Carmel, but you also kind of feel like Brownsburg's almost kind of playing against history because they have just come up short a lot with good teams over the course of the last few years. That's going to be a great one. That's where I will be with my TV and the ISC Sports Network and the IHSAA Champions Network. That's the game that I will have. 2 of the top 6 teams in Class 6A coming up on Friday night. Has anything else for the good of the cause, my friend?
Hey, we're ready. Hopefully everybody stays healthy and gets out and support this. Not a better time than high school state tournament time in Indiana.
All right, that'll do it for this week's edition of State Champs Indiana. Our friends at Lawrence Technological University. You can recruit yourself by logging on to LTUathletics.com. For Bob Stambazze and Kevin behind the scenes, thanks for joining us for State Champs Indiana Extra Point.